The boys really enjoy driving the dirt bike, but that ain't fun when you struggle to start it. And when you actually get it started, then you struggle to drive it, as it keeps backfiring out through the cylinder and cause it lacks power. If this feels familiar to you, then you know it's time to pull it in the garage and start fixing it. The first task is to remove the side cover and the seat. Here I removed the 2 bolts for the side cover. Now the side cover is loose and I can remove it together with the seat. Now it's time to remove the silencer. I loosen the rubber gasket and slide it down. Then I'm going to remove the bolt which holds the silencer onto the frame. Then I'll loosen the 2 exhaust bolts on the cylinder. Now the silencer can be lifted up and slide it out. I disconnect the spark plug cap. I loosen and remove the 4 nuts on the cylinder head. And then I can slide the cylinder head out and remove the head gasket. Now I can slide out the cylinder too, but I have to be really careful and watch out for the piston while I remove it. On each side of the piston there is a circlip. I only need to remove 1, but this part can be really tricky. And when the circlip is removed, then I can push out the piston pin so I can remove the piston. There are some scratches inside the cylinder, and the piston is looking much worse. Both the cylinder and the piston needs to be replaced. This is why it lacks power, and especially combined with a bad head gasket, so the cylinder backfires and the combustion escapes. I'm gonna remove the 4 stud bolts so I can scrape off the old cylinder gasket and get it all cleaned up. Now I'm gonna put some gloves on and prepare the new parts. Here we have the new cylinder and a new cylinder head. Some new piston rings and a new piston pin. The new piston is inside the new cylinder and needs to be slided out carefully. Before installing the new piston rings, it's important to lubricate them. And let's do the same with the piston. The piston rings have some cutouts and there are marks on the piston where it should go. So it's important that you turn it the right way before installing it, and then you guide it down gently without breaking it. And give yourself some time when you guide them down over the piston so you won't scratch it. Then I install one of the circlips in the piston because it's much easier to do up here on the table than it is to do it when the piston is installed on the piston rod. And now I can slide in the new piston pin. Before I install the new piston, I need to reinstall and tighten the stud bolts. Make sure the piston pin isn't pushed too far in. There must be room for the piston rod. There is an arrow on the piston which indicates the exhaust direction. Make sure that the arrow is pointing down before installing the piston. I push the piston pin all the way in, and afterwards I turn and mount the second circlip into place in the piston. Now the cylinder gasket can be slided down over the stud bolts, but be careful not to break it. And then the new cylinder can be slided into place, but make sure that the exhaust is pointing down. Check that the piston rings are aligned before pushing in the piston. I use the kickstarter to push the piston all the way in the cylinder. And then I slide the cylinder back in position. Then it's time for the new head gasket. And then afterwards the new cylinder head, where the big parts should point down. I tighten the nuts with the force of 15 newtons. Then it's time to install the new spark plug and connect the spark plug cap. Before I install the silencer again, I remove the old gasket, clean it, and then add a new gasket. Then I screw in the two exhaust bolts. Then it's time for installing the silencer again. I slide it in the front and push it down in the back. Then we can screw in the bolt in the frame and tighten both of the exhaust bolts. And I tighten the bolt in the frame, and I push up the rubber gasket and tighten it. Now I'm only missing the seat and the side cover, so I slide them in and give them a little push. Then I screw in the last two bolts and tighten them. Now it's time to start the dirt bike for the first time again after installing the new parts. I'm gonna leave it running in idle for half an hour before any test drives. Regarding the test drive, I got a little help. Thank you for watching. Anyways, have a great day and see you next time.